Okay, today we get to divide fractions. It's the thing you learn in 5th grade. That's the new thing. Most of you probably remember multiplying fractions in 4th grade. Maybe at the end of the year, that was kind of the new thing in 4th grade. And remember, it was much easier than you thought. Dividing fractions, still very easy, still easier than subtracting and adding. My brain is just so ready to be on summer break. Okay, so we are on page number 277, 278, and we're going to show you how to divide fractions. Now, normally, when you guys are here, I'd use a volunteer to show you how to do this. First of all, I guess I should probably look and see how they're doing. Oh, they're doing it differently than what I'm used to us doing. I didn't look at this before I started the video. Okay, so it says dividing a fraction is similar to dividing by a whole number. 12 divided by 4 is, there's 4 12s, or excuse me, there's, how many 4s are in 12? There's 3 4s in 12. 3 divided by half is finding how many halves are in 3. Okay, so you find out, here's 1, 2, and 3. If you divided each one of them into halves, you would end up with 3 halves. And 3 halves equals 1 1/2, which is half of 3, right? Half of 3 would be 1 1/2, right? So if you took those 3 circles and you divided each one into halves, half, half, you'd end up with 6 halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and half of 6 halves is 3 halves. And 3 halves equals 1 1/2, right? Okay, so I thought this was the easy way, but actually this is still easy, but it's not what I was thinking. That must be tomorrow. Okay, so down here it also says to use multiplication to check the quotient. You can check the quotient using multiplication. Multiply the quotient by the divisor. The product will be the dividend if the quotient is correct. Okay, so down here on section on number 1, it says to use the pictures to model the division equation. Okay, so we're going to take these two, and it looks like we're dividing them into fourths. And we're going to find out how many fourths are in 2. Let's answer this inside of our head first. This one would have 4. This one would have 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. We should end up with 8 fourths, right? Okay, so we're going to make this into fourths. Draw this one into fourths. Okay, and 2 divided by fourth, divided into 1/4 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we took 2 whole circles and divided them into fourths, you end up dividing it into 8 pieces. Isn't that what they want us to say? Yeah, I think I told you wrong up there. When we were talking about up here, I said, yeah, divide. I was multiplying, I'm sorry. If you took these 3 circles and made them into halves, you would end up with 6 halves. That's kind of what I said. And I said half of that would be 1 1/2. That wasn't what they wanted, sorry. Okay, so 6 halves. 3 divided in halves will end up equaling 6 halves, okay? And this first problem that we did down here, 2 divided into fourths, is going to equal 8 fourths. See how easy this is? Okay, this one we're going to divide into sixths. Okay, so to make sixths, you divide it that way, and then you make an X through it. Then you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See? It's kind of fun. Okay, so 1 divided by 2 sixths. Okay, so here's 1/6 and here's 1/6. Together, these two make 2 sixths. Let me make that into a different color, just so you can see. Okay, so together, these 1/6 and 1/6 equals 2 sixths, you see? And then same thing here, 1/6, 1/6. The 2 of those together are another 2 sixths. Can you see where I'm going with this? Those 1/6 and 1/6, the 2 of those together are another 1/6. So how many this is a 2 6, I'm sorry. So here's a 2 6. Here's a 2/6. Here's a 2/6. and here's a 2/6. Does that make sense to you? So how many 2/6 are there? 1, 2, 3. 1 divided by 2/6 equals 3. There are 3 2/6 there. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, so that's what you didn't have to draw all that, by the way. And if you did, that's fine. We're just supposed to make it into sixths. Okay, then we have over here some squares instead. You can buy pizzas in squares at certain restaurants. Okay, so this time we're going to figure out how many thirds would be in 4-hole pizzas, or whatever you want to call these. Okay, so we need to make them into thirds. So divide, that's not even, but just do your best. Thirds, 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 thirds. So there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So how many thirds are there altogether? 3, 6, 9, 12. There are 12 1/3s. Do you see? So 4 divided into thirds is 12. All right, then it says down here we're supposed to draw a picture. So you get to choose. You want to make squares, you want to make circles, you want to make something else. Something that'll be easy to divide into halves. I like good old pizzas, are my favorite, but you do what you want. Divide them all into halves. Half, half, half. And how many halves do we have? We have 6. Okay, so finish doing it that way. This is just 1 over here, and you're going to divide it into 12ths, and then group it like we did. Let me do this one with you. We did this a second ago, but since it's only 1, the rest of them you should be able to figure this out. Okay, so 1 divided into 12ths. With 12ths, you have to do like we did a second ago with the 6th. You divide it in half, and then that makes 6, right? Okay, and then you have to divide each one of these in half again. And that should be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And group it into 2 12ths. Here's 2 12ths right here. Here's 2 12ths right here. Here's 2 12ths. If you want to use you could use a different color crayon and shade each one so you can see them better. Here, I'll make this one. This 2 12ths has polka dots. This 2 12ths has little squares in it. I'm trying to make them look a little differently. This 2 12ths has squiggles. Okay, here's another 2 12ths has stripes. And then here's another 2 12ths that has boingies, swirlies. And then one more 2 12ths that has circles, big polka dots instead of little polka dots. Okay, so there was 1. Whoops, I started already counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 2 12ths. Does that make sense? So the answer is 6. So over here you have to make 3 6ths. How many 3 6ths are in 2? So you'll divide it into, you'll have your 2 and divide it into 6 again. And then look here, this is 3 6ths right here. 1, 2, 3, and this is 3 6 up here. So here's a 3 6, here's a 3 6, there's 2, and there'll be 2 more here, so that'll be 4. Do you see? It's kind of fun, actually. I like this. Okay, so make some pictures. Some of you love to draw. Gives you a chance to draw. All right, and then on the back, oh, you know what? It says to, you know what? I'm going to let you skip checking the answer. On this section it said to multiply to check the answer. Let's just skip that for now, okay? I'm sure you won't mind. All right, on the back it says the 5th grade teachers are making awards for the math contest. Each award uses 2/3 of a foot of ribbon. How many awards can be made from 4 feet of ribbon? So in other words, we need to know how many 2/3 are inside of 4, okay? So they're using a number line. Here's 4 divided into a number line, and we need 2/3. How many 2/3 there are? Okay, and they divided each of these ones into 3 sections. So here's Why are these arrows going like that? I don't quite get that. But here's 1, 2, 3. That's, oh, okay. I see what they did. Okay, they made them into thirds. Here's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 makes 1. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 makes 2. 1/3, 2. Okay, so these are divided into 3, and 2/3 for each one. So there's 1, 2. This will be one person's ribbon, and then 2/3 again makes 2 people's ribbons. 2/3 again makes 3 people's ribbons. 2/3 again makes 4 people's ribbons. 2/3 again makes 5. 2/3 again makes 6. So they can make 6 awards out of those 4 feet of ribbon. Okay, so now they want you to draw a number line. And this time I think we will multiply to check the answer. Let's see, did they do that on this one? They didn't do it on that one. Okay, I think we're still going to skip it because I don't want you guys to get confused. Okay, so here's 2. They already did the drawing for you. They took 2, a number line with 2, 1, 2. They divided into thirds just like we were dividing the shapes into thirds. 1, 2, 3. So here's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. How many thirds are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and they're showing us how to multiply. In order to multiply to check, we do, okay, let me see here. We go backwards and we multiply this by this, and once you simplify it, it should equal this. So you're going to do 1/3 times 6 over 1, which will equal 1 times 6 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. What is 6 divided by 3? It equals 2, which is what we started off with. Okay, so you're just going to go backwards. You work it backwards. Go 6 times 1/3 will end up equaling 2. Okay, so let's draw a number line here, and it's 5. It shows, remember in geometry, a number line, a line has unending numbers forever, so you put the little, they don't have an ending or a beginning. Okay, and we're going to make this into 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's put the numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to divide them into halves. Okay, so here's a half, 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 here's a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, it stops here. Okay, so how many halves are in 5? So we'll count. 1, so 2 in each one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Doesn't that make sense? If you had 5 apples, you divided them all into halves, you'd end up with 10 halves. Okay, now we're going to go backwards to multiply it. So do 10 times 1/2 should equal 5. Okay, so put 10 over 1. 10 times 1 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Bada bing, bada boom. That's where we started. See? So these are very super simple. Do you see? Okay, so keep drawing your number lines. On the other side, keep drawing your shapes and repartitioning them into the right fraction. Okay, then we're coming down here to do some more of these rule boxes. Complete the table, divide everything by half. Okay, so just think of these as apples. If you divided 2 apples into halves, how many halves would you have? You'd have 2 in the first apple and 2 in the second apple, so you'd have 4. Or you could do it like this, 2, let's see, it's 2 divided by half. Okay, so you can draw your pictures, you can draw a number line, divide them into half and count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this time you have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 divided in half. Or you can do it in your head. If you had 4 apples, you cut them all into halves, you're going to end up with 8, right? So pretty much you're just multiplying those times 2, because that's what you do when you make something into halves. You end up with 2 pieces. Okay, so finish out that box. This is dividing by fourths. So you end up making this apple into 4 pieces. And how many pieces do you have? 4. So really what we're doing here is we're multiplying by 4. Okay? So 3 apples, 4 pieces each, 12. 5 apples, 4 pieces each, 20. Easy peasy. You thought you were nervous, weren't you? I could see Elijah groaning, saying, oh no, this looks hard. Are you still groaning, Elijah? It's easy, right? Yes. It's not as hard as you think. Okay, this one's a tiny little bit harder. 2/3. How many 2/3 are in each one? That one's a little bit harder. Okay, so think of, I would do your pictures again. Divide this into thirds. Okay, and how many 2/3 are there? Here's 2/3. Here's 2/3, and these two make 2/3. So 1, 2, and these 2, 3. Okay, 4 into 2/3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Divide them all into thirds. Okay, and there's 2/3 right here. Then there's 2/3 right here. I'm going to cross them off and connect them. Cross off, connect, cross off. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 2/3 and 4. This one's a little bit harder, so I'll help you with all these. But those other 2 boxes were easy peasy. Okay, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, 6, 8, and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the way, did we do 4 already? We did 4. And I already erased the answer. 4 was what, 6? As I say, I think we just double that for 8. I could be wrong. Okay, 2/3. So 2/3. Or you know what we could also do here? Well, we'll just stick with what we're doing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 2/3. Now 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2/3. You might be able to think of a faster way. I can actually think of a faster way, but we haven't learned that other way. So if you can think of a faster way, that's fine. You don't have to show your work on this. It did not say to draw pictures. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Was there 6 and 4? I think there was, wasn't there? So that makes sense. Okay, and then 10. We're just going to double what we get out of this one. Or did we do 5? We didn't do 5 yet. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So 7.5 times 2 is 15. So we would have 15 there. Okay? And that's what we're doing on this part of the dividing fractions. Tomorrow is a more funner. Ask Mrs. Perkins if she likes that sentence. Then tomorrow will be more funner.